All right, I'm going to get going here, everyone. What up? I'm Rob. This is Drew English, and we're here live coming at you. So, what we wanted to talk about today, we want to have a pretty free flowing conversation, but a couple of things we really wanted to touch on are building offers, which is just something I've been really interested in lately. I've been what I call offer maxing, trying different things to see what's sticking, what I want to invest energy into. And I think that's been really fun. And I want to talk more about that. And Drew has some really cool stuff on this front too. He's sold some extremely high ticket, like consulting offers, and done a lot of stuff in production and film. And we want to dive into that as well as what he's bringing online and, trying to work through or bring to us. I still have questions, so don't, I want to see really what that looks like. And then we also just want to talk about making friends on Substack and really building an engaged audience and just how we've come about building our personal brands here. So Drew, thanks for joining me. If you want to introduce yourself at all, be my guest.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. So my name's Drew English. Um, I've been on Substack as a platform for just over a year. I am kind of building, for lack of a better term, my own creator business, which is really weird for me to say as somebody in their mid 40s because that's not like a thing I grew up with. But that's what I'm working on right now. I'm coming into this though from like 12 or 13 years in the film industry, primarily as a commercial and documentary cinematographer. So I've been the guy lighting the things and holding the cameras and working directly with directors and producers. Um, I've done a lot of celebrity work, and I've also done a fair bit of consulting. I don't know how much you can all see behind me, but I also own and run a podcast studio here. I'm in New York's Hudson Valley, so about 2 hours north of New York City. I run a studio called Upstate Podcast Studio. So that's kind of the other arm of what's going on. So I've done a lot of like high end consulting work and helped people build out studios and things like that. So I moonlight as that when I'm trying to fill in gaps. But yeah, that's a little quick recap on me. Um, and yeah, we're gonna jump in. I'm super psyched, Rob, that we decided to do this. We had jumped on a call a little while ago just to say hi, because we seem to like hit it off, going back and forth on Substack, and we have a lot to talk about. So why not do it for an audience?
Yeah, 100%. Like, and that's what I love. It's like we're having a conversation. I'm like, dude, this conversation itself could be a Substack live. Like, I think people would really enjoy
For
hearing
sure,
it, seeing it, and I'm learning from you, you're learning from me. Let's let others, join the fun. So that's kind of
absolutely.
what made this happen. And I really want to dive into offers. There's so much I want to talk about on this front. I've been talking about it lately with my audience. People seem really interested in hearing about it. And I think why people like to talk about it, at least from the right angle, is dude, we're all on Substack building. Everyone on Substack that's creating wants something from it, right? They want an audience or they want to make money, whether that's with paid subscribers or to sell a service or to sell a product or something. They're trying to build something, typically a business, but something. And to do that, you you need to have an offer. Even if you have a paid subscription, that technically is an offer. Like, you're providing some sort of value to people and they're paying you for that. And so I think it's really fun to dive into what makes offers work, what why some don't work, and learn from just the different things I've done and talk to you about what you've done and what you've seen work and what you're trying to do with it and stuff like that. And so I don't know, maybe one of the first things we can do to touch on this is I'd like to learn a bit about what your high ticket consulting offers looked like
Yeah,
and what you're trying to do here with the creator business and, see if we can like see any connection between the two and stuff like that.
cool. So I really yeah, specific to offers. I'm the kind of person who I like to adopt the mentality of being a perpetual student. Like I just love learning stuff in general. As I've been cooking dinner for my family the last week, I've just kind of been zoning out to to restoring and modifying like old Volvos. Um, I've never really been a car guy, but it's like I just like to learn, right? I'm just learning for learning's sake. So I like the idea of being a perpetual student, and and so as it pertains to offers and like building an online business, it's something I've never done. So I'm like really trying to like throw stuff at the wall and like see how that works because I've done it in real life. I'm coming at things from a very freelancer mentality, which I'm trying to like unwind. And when I say freelancer mentality, it's been the gig to gig, like trade your time for money. You hire me to do a thing, I execute the thing, give me a paycheck, rinse and repeat in perpetuity. Um, and that worked really well for a while. But obviously things change and life goes through seasons. And I'm kind of in that kind of development of a new season. We're going into a new season of life. So the way I kind of experimented with offers a couple of years ago, I was in a group mentorship group. And I was one of the only like film video people there. There was maybe like one or two other people, but everybody else had legitimate businesses doing all sorts of like wild things. There was even one girl who like her whole business that did really well was building like funnels for big people. Like I think one of her clients was Tony Robbins. I'm not sure, but it's like totally. I never would have thought that's a business. Um, so as happen like purely by happenstance, as I'm in the middle of all this stuff, I got a cold outreach from a past freelance client who, like, through a few degrees of separation, was working with this bigger podcaster. This podcaster was like starting to blow up in San Francisco. This guy Dwarkesh Patel, who his podcast is called the Dwarkesh Podcast. Um, it's in San Francisco. It's, totally a San Francisco thing. He talks to, you know, tech leaders and AI folks, and they just kind of like cold emailed me saying, "Hey, we need to build a podcast studio. We know you have a podcast studio. Like we see it in your content, so on and so forth. And we need something like that that's turnkey because what they were doing up until then is they're interviewing like top of the top tech elites and they're just like going into conference rooms in office buildings and like setting up cameras and lights. And it was fine, but it wasn't great. And so what I did, and this was the first time I'd ever consulted or done anything like this. So it was going to be a remote only consultation. Like they sent me measurements and pictures and all that stuff. And I spec'd out a studio for them. And as we went down the line, it became clear that I just needed to go out there. So it evolved into I went out with a buddy of mine and we installed all the stuff that I had spec'd. And like, I'm not going to say this is the reason, but one nice little hill to plant my flag on is when we started working together for that first studio, he had like 250,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is still like an insane amount of people. But by the time after we finished the studio and it like rolled out and they had a home base so they could just start like cranking stuff out and like bringing people to them, they like rocketed past 1 million subscribers, like real fast. And they're still going. And then earlier this year, at the beginning of the year, they brought me out again to do version 2 of that. They were moving into a new space. They needed to spec out a new thing. And it didn't go the same way because there were a lot of restrictions on the building and our kind of engagement changed, but it was still really high ticket as far as I'm concerned. Like I did 2 days of consulting and I think I billed them 15 grand. So it's like that to me qualifies as high ticket.
Yes.
But those are few and far between, and I don't have a well-oiled business built around that. So it's kind of that weird middle point between like, oh, that's sort of an offer, sort of something I could develop a little more, and then on the other side, it's still like that gig to gig, like mentality. And I've had other conversations, like it wasn't like a one and done. I've had other conversations with other companies, other people. Um, maybe they haven't necessarily been ready to invest the time and the money into building out full spaces, but those are still conversations I have in general. So that's where I wound up in this midpoint of like offer creation. Um, and
Yeah.
then, and then, I've been wanting to, for a while, invest in building a personal brand. And that is something I started doing in earnest a year ago when I started writing on Substack. I came here because I wanted to build my email list, and this had essentially built in discovery via notes and things like that. Because I'm not the world's best like content creator. I need something to like help me out. Um, so as I've kind of gone through and like developed my thinking over time this past year, and just the way my life is situated, because, my wife and I both work for ourselves and we have a young daughter at home and we're just kind of juggling back and forth. It's like I've been on this mission to create offers and create like an online business based around a personal brand that will kind of fit around my life instead of me fitting my life around what I do, that kind of thing, which is what the freelancing was turning into.
Yeah, I mean, for this particular offer, you flew out to San Francisco, it sounds,
I
and
did.
that's not always easy, right? You gotta
No,
leave the family at home, and it takes away, it's you're working around what they need and stuff.
sure.
That's really cool. One thing I wanted to touch on that I thought was like really interesting is, you talked about they went from 250,000 subscribers to over a million. And you're not saying, "Oh, this new studio just magically made that happen," but
No, definitely. No, no, no.
I imagine it does play a big role, whether, it's the setup looks more professional, it's better lit, and it's more pleasing to the eye for the person watching it. Like, that can totally play a part. But even on top of that, like, having a place where you don't have to think, where you can just, like, go film and go do this stuff, like, I feel like that's very underrated in the creator space. People know about it and they think about it, but I've read a lot about it, so I don't wanna say it's, like, completely underrated, but it's
Yeah.
still something that people don't talk about much, and when I see, people struggling with certain aspects, it's like, there's just always so much more friction than there needs to be. Like, how easy is it for someone to sit down and write an article? If you have to go through 50 different little steps of like, "Oh, do I now brainstorm or do I structure or do I outline?" And, in the beginning, that takes a lot of work to figure out on your own to get your own process down. But it's like anytime you can make your environment or your structure like easier to create what you need, it makes it way better.
Well, 100%. And, specifically to that, it's like I am the person, I am the poster child for overcomplicating things. Absolutely. I'm happy to admit it. I am the poster child for that. Like, I have all of the equipment in here that drives me nuts kind of regularly because something breaks or my computer starts acting weird or whatever. And I just yesterday rolled out a post called Ruthlessly Simplify. And I was having a really frustrating night a couple weeks back here in the studio. And out of frustration, I texted my wife. I was like, I need to ruthlessly simplify my life. And it was just, I said it out of frustration, but I've hung on to it. And it's exactly what we're talking about. It's like friction builds up. A lot of times it's self imposed. And all these decisions that I've had to make in the last few weeks, the biggest one was, was I going to move offices down the hall to a bigger space? And I decided to stay put because that was not simplifying anything, it was adding more complication. So to your point, it's like, yeah, I think we overcomplicate things all the time. It doesn't
Mm,
need to be that crazy.
no, it's a very human thing.
For sure.
I think everyone on here probably can relate to it in some way or another. And I think it's a reason a lot of people get into the creator business, right? It's like, "Oh, it's gonna be so much easier. I can do it from my laptop. I don't have to go into an office, get to work for myself. I'm my own boss. I don't have to be a people pleaser and do work that I don't want to and this and that." And it's like, that can be possible. Like, you can build your dream life, but it's very easy to get sidetracked on that path because you're not being told exactly what to do, right? You have to find that path. And sometimes, like sometimes it's just not like having prioritized the right things or not dealing with your environment or the distractions, right? And that's like a big thing of what I'm doing right now with helping creators build relationships that lead to, the opportunities they want. It's like a lot of it is trying to simplify the process because there's people out there. I was this person for years on Twitter and I did it again when I came onto Substack. And it's like, dude, I was grinding out like an hour, 2 hours of engagement every day and really not seeing a ton of progress. And it's like really frustrating, right? It's like you're putting all this work in and you're like not getting subscribers out of it. I'm not getting, people DMing me. Like, why am I not getting these relationships? And I realized it wasn't the time. It was just like, what am I prioritizing? How am I going about it? And how can I simplify that? And so over the last like several months, I've really come up with a system that allows me to build genuine relationships with people and do
Yeah.
that in a very efficient manner. Um, and I think we'll dive into that. You look like you have something to say. Is there something you wanted to touch on?
Not particularly.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I think the one thing that kind of flew through my head was that I think a lot of people get frustrated because if this is something you're doing on the side of like a normal job, um, it's a totally different mindset. Having been a self-employed freelancer for over a decade, it's like you realize really quickly, oh, every like structure, motivation, all that stuff is completely on me. It's so if you're not used to that, I think that's why people maybe give up or get discouraged. And at some point, you know, and I go in waves, but at some point you kind of have to like surrender to the process a little bit and realize that like, you know, there is some truth to the stuff you see slung around on Substack notes all the time, which is like just show up or keep going. I mean, it's like people write that stuff for certain levels of engagement, but I think at the core it's true. Like you just kind of have to put in the work and, you know, have a little bit of faith in yourself. Hold on, I'm going to read Alan's comments really quick.
Thank you. Because I saw them
Yeah,
flying
yeah, yeah.
through and I'm like, I can't capture all this.
Yeah. The creator path not being Alan, I'm just going to read through this, like browse through really quickly, especially on Substack. Uh, may a small number of highly readers are also creators. Lends itself to low value. Yeah. So basically, Alan, I think the point as I'm reading through this very quickly, um, you're thinking about the creator path being very nonlinear, especially on Substack because the default monetization model feels like it doesn't match the personal brand style. Um, okay, so I think here's how I'll say it. Here's how I'll say it, and I think here's a great way to summarize it. The reason one of the things we wanted to talk about was offers because Rob is someone who has way more experience than me in constructing like legit online offers. And I think Substack is a little surface level as a platform, like the built-in mechanics it has is a little surface level in terms of like how you can approach it to make money. And there are any number of bigger publications out there that will speak to this point as well. The one at the top of my head is Right Build Scale. I know those folks reasonably well, and they talk about this all the time, where it's like paid subscriptions. If that's what you're looking at for like a revenue generator, don't think of it as a revenue generator. It's not going to make you a ton of money ever. And this is from somebody who has not turned on paid subscriptions yet and promised himself he was going to when he crossed 500 subscribers. And I still haven't because I don't want it to be like, oh, pay me money and you'll just get an extra article. Like, I'm not going to keep up that cadence because I know myself. I can't. I'm still like basically one a week. I might be able to go up to two. But I think for me, the whole motivation of having like a paid tier is to like offer more, like be able to bring more to people, like more value in like as one stop shop away as possible, right? So instead of like spreading out my efforts across lots of different tools, my idea would be just to kind of like wet the whistle of the audience and say like, oh, these are other things that Drew can offer. Is like put that behind a paywall of a paid subscription because I don't really want to write a whole lot more just for the sake of writing a whole lot more and then like paywall it. I clearly like talking to people, which is why I like doing Substack lives. It's like maybe I could do like a monthly like group call. I don't know. But there's I would say I'm losing the point a little bit, but it's like, you know, don't think of Alan, I hope I'm getting this right, or I'm like at least speaking to a little bit of what you said. It's like, don't put all your money eggs in the basket of like, oh, Substack's going to pay me. It's not, but it has a lot of like mechanics built in that can help you build to something that will, is my opinion.
Yeah, I find it interesting because if you look at the people who are actually like making a living off of Substack publications, there's this one called Feed Me. She has like over 10,000 paid subscribers. It's like a
Yeah.
massive publication. It's a media business at that point.
Yeah.
But it's like she has a team of writers. She has, and so I watched an interview with her, and early on when she was like like first getting started and like realizing like, oh, there's something here. It's like her article got published on Bloomberg and went through like Bloomberg terminals. I don't know if you know much about like finance, but like they all
Oh,
have
I'm intimately familiar with the
okay,
Bloomberg
yeah.
world. Yes.
Yeah, so they all have their Bloomberg terminals, and apparently like one of her friends is like, "Hey, your article popped up on my Bloomberg terminal." So, it's getting sent out via
Yeah.
Bloomberg and it's like you have to be able to write things that will get outside of Substack. They need to like be so good or so interesting or relevant to a large number of people and the right people, right? Like she obviously wrote something and this is the thing. She had lived in New York or lives in New York and had built up this network. Like she was friends with, wealthy people in finance or successful people working for Meta. And, like, she'd worked and
Yeah.
built this network. And so when her friends read it, well, some of her friends are pretty powerful. They have friends in media and stuff, and they share it with someone, and that person decides to post it on Bloomberg, and boom, and it blows up. And it's like, so it's like it's a possible thing, but you have to look at it as like a media business. Like you need to be making friends with publishers and getting your stuff posted in like magazines and or whatever, like online magazines or somewhere that's going to push it, and that's not just going to be Substack.
Yeah, man. I mean, also, I think there's definitely and this is not just a Substack thing. This is an internet in general thing. Pick a platform. It exists where it's like I can pull up any platform on my phone and look at it and go, "Oh my god, this person has figured it out." But like there is no such thing as build it and they will come, right? Uh, doesn't exist. To your point, all the bigger creators that you're seeing out there who seem to be making waves, a lot of them, yeah, they have a team or they're like at least paying contractors to help them out with certain things. And if you're in a boat like I certainly am, I think you are too, where it's like I'm a one man band. Like if I could afford to pay somebody even just to like edit podcast episodes, it would be like the most bougie thing ever. But I just, I don't have it. So it's like, when you're doing it all yourself, try to keep in mind that it's like, if you think somebody has just like become an overnight success or like has the easiest life, they probably don't. Like they probably either have a team or, they're grinding it out and really hard and just not telling anybody about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I see Alan. I've definitely fallen for that build it and they will come thing. Yeah, and that's the thing. And like so with Feed Me especially, um, she also writes like very like intimate stuff that most people would not be willing to share. And she talked about how it's like hard. It's, you know, she's kind of creating enemies with people she somewhat knows. Like she worked at Facebook or Meta or something, and she like was rubbing elbows with like some of these big names in the space
Yeah.
and stuff. And then she wrote some stuff on Feed Me about her experiences with these people and what they're like. And some of those things are probably not things they're happy that she wrote about and got stuff. And it's like, so she has experience that just people don't have, right? Like rubbing elbows with these people. And then she's willing to say things about them that most people would be probably frightened to do. And that's why they pay her. And that's why she put up a paywall so she can like
Right.
be aggressive and say these things, but not have the whole world, you know, talking crap on her. The only people who can write in her comments are people who are joined, and those are mostly people who like her and stuff like that. And
That's
so,
actually, I actually never thought about that. And I'm not saying that's an excuse to like throw shade at everybody you want to throw shade at, but it's like using a paywall to kind of like create a safe space to share some of your more like intimate experience, like real, like the, I guess like the less polished version, the less like broad internet friendly version of what you want to say. That's interesting. Never thought about that.
yeah, and I think, like if I wanted to write a lesson about an experience I have with like my neighbors or something, it's like I don't really want to do that because I don't want it to somehow get out. Even though they probably wouldn't read it, it's like they could, and that could totally screw things up for my family socially in the neighborhood. But if I put it under a paywall, it's like, well, I mean, if they follow me, like if they, if we have a beef or there's some drama, they probably are not a paying subscriber to my stuff,
Right.
and they probably don't even know what Substack is. Let's be real, but it might be a better option for people who want to say more things um from their personal life, and so anyway, I brought all that up to like say it is possible, but there's more to it than meets the eye.
Hmm.
And that's where I really find the example of like on Feed Me, how she had distribution that people don't really have. And it I really think like there's more to it than build it and they will come. And so
Yeah, just to step on you for a second,
yeah.
because Brandy just chimed in with something in the comments where she said, "I struggle with this writing about the corporate space after spending so many years at Disney and NBCU. I don't want to torch the relationships, but I also want to be honest about it." And that's a really good point, though, because all of this stuff, whether you think it is or not, is a relationship business. Like coming from the film world, like that is 100% a relationship industry, and so you want to be able to share your experience and like have people get value out of it, but you don't want to burn your bridges because you never know when those relationships are going to come back around. Uh, I've had that experience, not the burning bridge aspect, but I've not talked to people for years, and out of the blue, they'll just be like, "Hey, we have this project we're working on. Do you think you can, you know, either refer us to somebody or would you be able to jump on?" And I don't know. I can't think of any specific example, but to Brandy's point, yeah, like everything is a relationship.
And
My opinion is everything you're trying to build is just storytelling, which is one thing I want to kind of like dig into more in general. And then once you have built something or you have some traction, then it's just maintaining relationships. It's just storytelling and relationships. Everything can boil down to that.
and so I think a big lesson for her thing is like if you're gonna take it all the way and try to turn a media business out of like, shedding light on things, take your shot, right? Whatever. Um, but if your paid subscribers are not going to be your main thing and you're not like out here to like primarily do writing, like I do my coaching and stuff, my writing is not going to pay me much. I turned on paid subs a couple weeks ago, like 10 paid subscribers, but like I'm even a year from now, 2 years from now, even if it like grows and does well, I don't expect that to be my main revenue source. So I'm not going to plan on writing these like exposés or sharing intimate details from my life or anything like that. Like I do try to be authentic and share, things
Yeah,
that
sure.
help, but to me, the relationships are more important. And
100%.
so back to Alan's thing, I do think for most creators, you're going to want to have like other offers, right? I think we kind of hit that pretty hard. And for me, that's coaching. For some people, it might be like digital products, um, cohorts, it might be whatever, like some some different stuff. And I agree with that. And Substack isn't really built for that, and especially because their model is they make money off paid subscriptions.
Yeah.
They It almost seems like they've made that a bit harder than it needs to be. They don't make your link in bio obvious if it links outside the platform. It's like your main link in bio is your publication, and then the other ones are hidden behind a little link icon. And I I'm curious though if Substack will eventually open up its like own course platform, which I totally could see it doing with the way it's moving. Like it's, they have Substack Live now. You can do video. You've got notes, you've got the articles, you've got all this, and you got the paid publications. Like, what if they let you build your course on Substack and they took 10% of it because you're hosting it there, which is like more than other people take, but people seem fine to give Substack that because it's all interconnected. I think that'd be pretty cool. And I think then you could probably promote it a lot easier and they'd help you promote it because it'd be on their own platform. But
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I have no idea. I mean, I guess anything's possible because as a platform, they seem to be embracing a lot of different uh, angles. I think stuff like this is really cool, honestly. As like as a video guy natively, this is great. Uh, yeah, I feel like I was going to say something else, but now I can't remember.
yeah, anyway, so I don't know, but I do think that if you want to make it as a creator, 99% of people, I mean, I don't know, maybe like I don't want to say you can't make a living off of paid subs. Like there are people, what up, Jess?
Hey,
Definitely,
Jess.
definitely doing that. Um, But I do think you're gonna win a lot faster if you have
Well,
things that
also,
can make more money.
yeah, and I know literally nothing about this. This is just conjecture on my part, but because Substack will only make money if you make money, which is completely different than any other email platform. Um, you know, part of the impetus for me wanting to turn on paid subscriptions is yes to be kind of like, to use a markety term, top of funnel for other things. But also I feel like as a platform, they're going to prioritize you if you're set up to make them money,
Yeah.
right? Just as I noticed, like once I crossed 500 subscribers, like literally once that number hit, my discovery went up a notch for sure. Like unequivocally, more traffic started coming my way. Not like all the traffic, but I noticed a difference. Um, part of the motivation for wanting to turn on paid is to like up the discoverability a little bit. You know?
So that was a big decision for me. It was for those 2 reasons, right? It was like, okay, it can work as top of funnel. If people are paying me for a subscription, they're probably gonna be more likely to pay me for something else. Um, they've already shown interest in paying for what I'm doing. And then I assumed that it would be helpful for discoverability. I figured my content would probably perform better on Substack if I had a paid subscription. I saw a comment come through here that I wanted to look at. Alan.
Can you see it or you need me to read
Oh
it out?
yeah. I think it's a great idea for a new revenue source. Yeah, I agree. I think I think it would be huge for the revenue source. Like I think most of the people on here are I think most of the money made on Substack is not being made through Substack publications, and
Definitely not.
Substack is totally missing out on that income. I think they could totally charge for that. Um,
Yeah, I mean, and I will say, Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity in general. This is not just a Substack specific thing, but keep in mind the person talking to you right now is not someone in their 20s who like is just testing things out. I'm going to be 45 in August, right? Like I am an actual grown up with actual life responsibilities, and I've had all the different jobs. I used to work a desk job like doing tech support out of college. I've worked part-time retail at Apple. I used to be a musician. Like I've done a lot of stuff. And now at this age and stage of life, I'm also throwing more eggs into the basket of like personal brand and like small media company, because all day long on the other side, on the traditional like freelance production side of things, like I just this week I sent out a bunch of emails because I'm trying to get more editing work, like video editing work that I can just do from here, that's easy, that's light lift, and like fills in some income gaps for me. Right. And every response, almost to a T, of every like direct peer colleague that I sent messages to, their response was, "Oh man, this year is so slow. Like we don't really have any work." And it's like, that's not good, right? It's not good that like the old model of just like, I do this one thing and I just go around and try to get these gigs where I do this one thing and I just have to do more gigs, spend more time, more effort, blah, 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 however you want to frame it, just to make a paycheck, is like that whole model, in my opinion, is like going right out the door. And where things are going to get really interesting and more valuable is like really small personal brands, creator brands that are also like kind of media companies. And I'm not saying this is where I'm at, but you know, I have my publication, which is No Set Path. I also have a podcast. It started as a podcast, which I still have, right? So I have this other thing that's kind of like proof of concept. I don't know. I'm like, I have a lot of thoughts flying through my head, so it's hard for me to like really rein in what I'm trying to say. But I think the more value you can bring yourself as a brand and think of things more holistically, instead of just like, I'll use myself as an example, instead of just like, hey, I'm really good at making pretty pictures and pointing cameras at things like that. Fine. There's a lot of technology that makes anybody able to do that. But, what I do have is like experience in a lot of different fronts. I have a really big network of people that I know in a lot of different professions. It's like really kind of leveraging what's already, you know, in your court, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how much the world has just like changed and stuff and how much the models are changing and what's picking up steam. You see like the creator businesses are growing so fast, like, and they've had their own turbulence and stuff going up and down, you know, like especially back on Twitter, people were just absolutely going nuts over there, like building crazy businesses. And then the algorithms changed and the markets shifted. And that was around like 2023 ish or so, at the same time that the economy really softened and interest rates went up and there's a lot less cash moving around. And so it's like, you just see a lot of these changes. And what it leads to is like people trying to build really strong personal brands that can last through that, where the relationships, you know, don't just disappear, because that's what happened on Twitter. It's like people didn't really have relationships with their audience. They built audiences, and I'm included in this, and you go viral, and then your offer gets put out with your viral notes. People see it, they click landing pages, some people book calls, and boom, and then you're booking clients. But it's like as soon as the viral reach is gone, that's kind of like disappears. Your whole model is broken. But the people who thrive through all that are like these YouTube accounts where they're building long-term relationships with their readers. Like people are
Yeah.
like this live, right? People are investing time listening to us. And that's, if you can do that and provide value and get people to like you and stuff, then it doesn't matter if the algorithms are janking you around. They still want to hear from you and listen to you, so you can hit them through emails or whatever. But what I love about Substack is that the people who actually want to see your stuff, they are going to see your stuff. Like on X, what you have to do right now is you have to try to go viral. It's like you don't write something for virality, you're gonna get no reach.
I
But
hate that. I
yeah,
hate
it's
that
so
so
dumb.
much.
You can have 34,000 followers over there. And if I go write something, maybe 100 of them will see it. It's like ridiculous.
Well,
And
I have a really tumultuous relationship with the term virality, and we were going back and
yeah, we
forth
were
about
talking
this
about that. Yeah.
yesterday. But it's like the specific viewpoint I come at it from is I've been on a ton of like branded commercial sets with clients who are like, we want to make this video so it goes viral. And I'm like, that's not how it works. That's not how virality works. Like, you can't plan to do it. You can say you want it to happen and try really hard to be creative, but that's not how virality works. It's like your time is so much better invested instead of trying to get like as many eyeballs as possible. Your time is better invested doing stuff like this, man, having conversations, building relationships. Like, there's 22 people taking time out of their day to watch this right now. And like, actually, there's an actual back and forth going on in the chat, which to me is like way more valuable.
Yeah, I think that's so awesome. And that's what I love about Substack is like it's built around this. It's like it's you write a comment and someone replies and you comment under it, and it's like you're having a full on conversation.
Hmm.
Whereas on dude, like in you go look at the comments and at X, right? It's just like rage bait, like people talking shit on each other and like people trolling you. And even if it's someone who agrees, they're like, oh, dope or whatever. And it's like that's it. There's no back and forth conversation happening, and it's unless it's like people arguing at each other and like just saying how wrong the other person is. And that's because that's the content that's promoted. It's like, oh, this is going to go more viral, so that's what gets pushed out, so that's where the comments end up. And on Substack, it's like it's built for your own followers who actually want to hang out with you, for them to see your stuff. And then if they write a comment, like you can write a long, thoughtful comment, and then they can write a long thought. And it's like it's built around discussion and relationship building. And that's why I just love the platform so much. And so, and I think it's like one of the only places where you can still really do that, like within the infrastructure. And as long as that exists, it gives people who have 0 followers a chance to start growing like immediately, a month, 2 months, 3 months in, and start getting traction and have reliable traction building every single month. It's like
Yeah.
all you need to do is learn the skill of like connecting with people online, which plenty of people already have, right? They come on and they've built these skills by texting with friends or, joining communities or discords or wherever they got the skills, and they just come use them naturally and it works really well. And then for others, like people like me, we kind of had to learn it the hard way. It's like I didn't have the skills and I had to comment and do a bunch of stuff and be really terrible at it for a couple of years on Twitter. And then I finally kind of figured out like how to build these relationships. Um, but it's also not that hard to learn. It's like if you learn the
No,
right
and that's why
techniques.
and yeah, and that's why I think something specifically like Substack Live, just for me, is easier because it's like I've filmed a million interviews. I've hosted like 50-ish of my own podcast episodes. Like, I have absolutely no problem sitting on camera, talking to a camera or talking to another person on camera. And it's like, it's just something that I've built up over time. So I think that leverages really well for me. And just kind of like, you know, just because we never really closed the loop on offers, it's like, as I think about offers, I'm a very like binary thinker when it comes to like, oh, this is, so one thing I've thought of in the past is just like, I will teach you how to look good on camera. And it's like, okay, that's not really a thing. But like, you know, you enter into this engagement with me and I will teach you how to just and when you leave, you'll be able to show up conversationally and really confident on camera, like that's a different value prop, even though it's kind of along the same lines. It's a totally different value prop. But we can totally close the loop on offers because we're talking more about relationship building, and that's part of what we were also going to talk about. So we can just like slide right over there if you want to.
Yeah, heck yeah. So an approach I've taken, I've been calling it offer maxing,
Hmm.
and it's like I'm just putting offers out and seeing what sticks and what doesn't, and like really trying to, instead of like trying to build the right thing and spending months doing that, which I've done so many times in the past, it's like I'm trying to let the audience dictate what they like, but also figure out what I like and what I'm good at. And so like so in February, I decided, okay, I want to start helping people like with their relationships, because for like a year prior to that, I tried to push out an offer that I called it goal smash. It was like to help people achieve their goals essentially. I got it a little more complicated than that, but it was like the problem was it was not a specific outcome. And I knew this from the past, but I kind of went against my own advice. And it was like, if you want an offer that's going to do well, like you really want to have a very specific outcome that you can help people achieve. They typically don't want like you to diagnose their problem and then solve whatever direction it is. So if you like say, "Oh, I'll help you build your dream life," so first we're going to figure out what that is, and then I'll help you achieve it. No
Yeah.
one really buys that because a like they don't know what it's gonna be, they can't picture it, and you can't be the expert at everything, right? It's like, so if I wanna be a film, like, a director, you're gonna help me become a director? Or what if I wanna become a scuba instructor? Or, like, it's like, they can't, you can be a life coach and you can help guide people, I do believe that's true, but people really are more willing to pay when they're like, "Oh, you're the relationships guy," or like, "You help me, you know, become super confident on film and make it easy for me to show up and produce like an awesome video every day." It's like, okay, that's very specific. Um, so anyway, so after like a year of that and then like finally it clicking and I'm like, okay, I've been going about this the wrong way. I was
Hmm.
like, instead of just building and trying to make whatever I build work, I was like, I'm going to, l- I made 3 steps out of it. I wrote an article about it like a week or two ago or something. And it's like, first, I just validate the problem. I like start talking about the problem a bunch in my notes and just see how it clicks. And so I first was like, okay, I'm going to talk about relationships. But then I split that into two things because I was like, there's going out and talking to people and like all this stuff you do to connect with people. But there's also the stuff before that, which is like, how do you show up as someone people want
Hmm.
to connect with? Your
Yeah.
bio and you like that type of stuff. And so I was like, okay, I'll teach people about their bios and stuff first. I'll help them with that. And then do the second piece later. And
Oh my
so
God. I need somebody to come in and just, yes, I need that. I have like all my, like nothing in my online presence is uniform at all. And it's kind of maddening.
all right, we'll talk about that for sure.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
help you with
yeah.
that.
I also, I'm just going to off on my camera really quick because it's being weird, but I'm still here. I'll be right
Okay,
back.
cool. So so I just start talking about bios and people resonate hard, like, "Oh my gosh, fix my bio. How's my bio?" Like they kept saying all this stuff. I was like, okay, a week of that completely validated my idea that people at least have the problem. I wasn't gonna, sell something that wasn't built. And that's the thing. People usually go in one of two directions. They spend months building something without knowing if people are gonna buy it, or you have like the startup people that are like sell before you build or whatever. But I never really liked the idea of like
Mm.
selling something and then not having it. And it's like you go through all this work and then you're like, oh, actually, okay, but now I have to go build it.
Well, but
And
that's also like a very like SaaS tech kind of like approach where it's like you could just like validate an idea and then like pre-sell like an app or a service, and that's totally different. It's like
yeah.
completely different.
So I'm not a fan of that. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do build something that's good enough that I can offer some money for it, right? And so I'm like, it should take like a week or two. So I do like a week of content validation, just seeing if people have the problem. then a week or two of just a light build that's good enough to like sell. And
Yeah.
so for the bio one, I actually built the full product because it was just an ebook. I built it in like 1 or 2 weeks, and then I go sell it and see how it sells. And that thing, I sold a handful of them, and I was like, cool. And I'll work with people that buy it and see how that goes, and then we'll go from there. Um, and so then I started working with like the people who bought it. I was like, hey, I'll review your bio after. Let me know how it goes. And people loved it. But what I realized is it didn't work unless you had your direction like already. If you have to know what you're on Substack doing to make it work, because that stuff gets injected into your bio. So if you're not really sure what you're doing, who you want to help, how you can help them, then it didn't really work. So I was like, okay, I'm going to build something to help people figure that out. And so I built this thing called the personal brand build out. And it was like they had this AI conversation that I fed them, and it would interview them for like an hour on just like who do you like helping? What have you done like up until this point, just your past careers and stuff like that, like trying to get all the credibility out of them, like their interests, what they like, who they want to help and all that.
Yeah,
And
like a big context dump, basically.
yeah. And so
Yeah,
I did a week of the content validation. So I was just
yeah.
like, talking about like how hard it is to build when you don't even know what you're building, or like, when someone asks you what you do at a party and you're like, I don't even know what to
Oh
say.
my god, it's the worst. I That is like my nightmare question every time. I'm
And
like, and it turns into like a 2-minute answer for me. It's stupid.
dude, and people resonated, right? Like I said this stuff and they're like, oh my gosh, that's totally me, blah, blah, all this stuff. And so I was like, okay, that again validates it. So I built out this thing. It took me like a week or two to build, very light, like not really a course, just like the conversation thing, a few lessons on how to use it. And then they'd send it to me. I'd kind of dissect it and then build this report that, um, you know, gave them like, hey, you could build this, or you could build this, or you could build this. Like, these are the directions you could go. These are the angles you could take. And this is really how you could position yourself as like either an expert at it or, but it would all be within their actual credibility. So it'd be like very authentic. And so a lot of people like, wow, like they'd see angles they never thought of. And like, you know, I never gave myself credit for like having this much confidence or like competence, but I actually do have way more credibility than I thought. And
Yeah.
it's just helped with that. But I realized while going through it, I did not like fulfilling it. It was actually a ton of work for me to go through all that, build this report. Even though AI helped me, I like had to make sure it was good. And then, so after that, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go back to the relationship stuff and kind of leave this stuff on the side. Now that I've gone through it, I'm like way better at helping people with it. So if my clients need that help, but I was like, but I'm going to focus on just how people can show up and build relationships online. I think it's easier to teach and it's way more important. It's like, these are the things that lead to clients and like growth and stuff like that. It's like, if you can get your engagement going, build these relationships, people start sending you referrals. Like, dude, through my relationships, I've had people be like, oh, dude, you need help with your bio? Rob's the guy. Go talk to him. Or like,
Yeah.
oh, you need help with this? Like, people have just been like, oh, he's the inject whatever I was talking about that month guy. And it's like, and so that's kind of one of the cool things is you can pick what you want to be the go-to person for. You just have to claim it and do it. And then people will start to see you as that.
Yeah, I kind of have a really good bridge for all this that like speaks to that and also ties in pretty hard to like the building relationships and like making friends thing. And it starts in real life and then crosses over into Substack. So like to start on the offer side, it's like I've been trying to figure out ways to make more reliable revenue that's like a little bit less time and effort on my part, right? I think everybody's on that mission. So a few months ago, I was like on this kick where I was trying to develop, as someone who's like spent a ton of time in podcasting, develop an interview offer whereby I would interview like solo operators, small business founders, things like that monthly. Just kind of have a conversation, a directed conversation. And then I would pull the insights out of that conversation and I would deliver some social media video clips and some ghost written LinkedIn content. That was going to be my offer until until I realized I'm like, I don't think I really want to do that. Right. However, where the having and making friends part comes in is I test drove this with two people that I know, trust, and like. They're two people locally. One of them is my buddy Jordan, who runs a really, and Rob, you and I talked about this, but my buddy Jordan, who runs like a really big local networking group here in the Hudson Valley called Connect HV. Great dude. Like he's the best. And I'm like, can we test drive this together? And what happened is we had this call. I delivered him this content, and he wrote me this whole email. And he's like, "Look, everything you sent me is totally fine. I could use it. It's great, whatever. But let me tell you where unequivocally more value came from." And then he proceeded to tell me that the conversation we had for an hour was like way more valuable to him. He said it felt like an executive coaching session, but like with a friend. I got a lot more clarity on things I'm trying to do with Connect HV. And so just by having invested time in building this relationship for over a couple of years, just, showing up to the events and whatever. Now on the back end, he's giving me very immediate, very direct feedback of like, hey, don't ignore this because this is arguably more valuable and honestly way more appealing to me. I would much rather have like conversations and be in the weeds with somebody than just like churning out another video for, like, I've done that for a decade. I don't need to do that every day. Um, so so that is the value of like, you know, as you are like considering and like trying to validate offers for yourself, also like bumping that up and like pressure testing, for lack of a better term, uh those ideas against people you have relationships with. And so to bring that into like the internet, like Substack universe, um I've actually been getting more questions from people like how am I building more relationships directly here on Substack. And the really light lift thing that I do is like twice a day I will go through and I will reply to every single comment on anything that I've posted or interacted with, like every single one, even if I'm just giving one word answers. It's like I don't know. It feels a little disingenuous to just like something and move on. Um, I want to like engage, like do that. Just little extra bit of engagement really goes a long way. And then the other thing I started doing, which I've talked about before, in the past, is I've started sending Loom videos to people. Um, so Loom is just a platform. Forget Loom for a second. But like I've basically been sending video messages to people where I've been in the DMs talking to people that I like. I just like reading their stuff and trying to like build a rapport. And what I've started doing is just recording myself talking to camera because I'm fine doing it. I'll just be like, "Hey, what's up? I just wanted to put like a face and voice to the name. This is me. I really like what you're doing. Whatever." It's like a 30-second video that I send. And almost to a person, every single person writes back is like, "Nobody's ever done this. This is really good." It's like so great to like, dig a level deeper, like know what you sound like, get kind of what your vibe is. Um, I've done a lot of like recommendations back and forth on other publications because of that. Um, I'm going to have another podcast guest. Uh, I'm going to, I have to schedule it, but I'm going to go down to the city and her and I are going to have a conversation live in the studio because of stuff like that. And it's just like that little extra bit of effort has really gone a long way. And I'm not going to say that everybody listening to this is like, you must go send video messages. Like, that's not what I'm saying. It's just like sinking in a little bit of effort, extra effort on the like building relationships and just like digging a layer deeper really like can pay dividends, but you have to like just sink in the time. And again, like surrender to the process a little bit. Where
Yeah.
if anybody has kids, then you definitely understand what just surrendering means. You're just like, okay, fine. You know?
Yeah, that's super relatable. Especially this week, I told my
Mm-hmm.
daughter being sick and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Man, so much to touch on. Dude, okay, so first, like the importance of going the extra step, I think that's very underrated. There's a
Yep.
lot of people who comment just because it's like a checklist, a task to do. Got to comment on 10 people right now or whatever. And I'm a big fan of like hitting benchmarks and stuff, but the difference between and I know you said you sometimes will do one word, which is like for you or in that situation might be the step up from like just liking it, right? It's like you're going the extra step there.
I see.
And
I see it that way. Yeah.
and so a lot of times what I'll try to do is like on my comments, I'll try to, you know, instead of writing a comment for 15 seconds, I might sit there for a minute or two and like really digest what they say, think through like something that actually means something to me, and then write out a comment that clearly took like a minute to write. Or in Alan's case, like a 30-minute comment. Alan and I have these like our comments back and forth are like essays. Um it's super fun. I enjoy it. I don't recommend it as a scaling tactic because it's really time intensive, but that extra effort, people notice it. Like if you want to build relationships on Substack, you you need to put in the effort. Like people like people who like them, and you show that you like them by actually caring and investing in them. It's like if you tell your friend, "Oh, dude, if you ever need my help, let me know," but then you don't help them when their tire's flat, or you don't actually show up, like, okay, they're not gonna think you like them because you're not investing the time. If you show up and help them move in for a day, they're gonna be like, "Dude, Rob, like, he gave up a day of his life to, like, help me move into my place, like, when I needed it more than anything." Like, that's gonna last forever or, like, for a really long time. And on Substack, that just looks like taking the time to really think about and care about the message you're sending. So I think that's like a really big thing. And so your video message is exactly that, right? Like you took like I got that video message from you,
Yeah.
and it was like a no-brainer. I mean, we had connected on like in
Yeah.
the comments and stuff, and so if you had DM'd me, I'm sure it would have been very similar. But like the fact that you had gone that extra effort just made me like I was on my phone and I was like, "Oh dude, when I'm on my computer, I'm totally like responding with like real thought and energy." I
Yeah.
hate using my phone cuz it's
Yeah. Yeah.
hard. It's like whatever. I can
Agreed.
I can sit at my computer and actually give like full attention to stuff. That's
Yeah.
why I like to use it. But that's like that's that's the type of things that like it's those small things that you can't really see that make the big difference in the end.
Yeah, and it's
And
also just like using what's in your wheelhouse. It's like, "Hi, I literally have a whole studio here set up and ready to go." Like, why wouldn't I just like talk into a camera and be like, "Hey, what's up? Send a link. Done." You know?
yeah.
It's not like this is all ready to go all the time, you know? So it's like use what's at your disposal. And also, you know, everybody likes attention, and I don't mean that as a negative. It's like people want to know that what they're saying or what they're commenting on is like, resonating with the person receiving it. Like everybody wants to feel validated in some way, shape, or form, even in small ways.
Yeah, it's the thank you note, right? It's like
Yeah.
you can say thank you to someone, you can text them, but if you write a handwritten thank you note, it just shows that you cared about that person enough to take the time out of your day to physically handwrite the note, put it in the mailbox, and send it to them. And it's the investment, right? It's like when your parents are always like, "Oh, it's the thought that counts." It literally is the thought that counts. And
Well, yeah, and also the way this can all become a little cyclical because the two things we've been going back and forth on are offers and relationships, right? And the way this becomes cyclical and is it can also create new questions or new tracks to explore. It's why I've kind of held on to the name No Set Path, because I just view it as like there's no rules, like you know there is no like tried and true framework. It's like you just like experiment, and you can be successful in ways you never thought, or opportunities can happen in ways you never thought. And the way this for me is like very, very pertinent right now is I just start, the conventional wisdom is like you need to like have an ideal person you're writing to, or like who's the person you're writing for. I just started writing to myself, but like 2 years ago, you know, and so I developed this whole formula around like who I thought my ideal audience member was. And now, because I've been building relationships and I've been engaging more, and like more people are coming into the fold, I'm starting to realize that like maybe the very like finite profile of the person I thought I was writing to is shifting a little bit. You know, like I think the people who are kind of coming into the publications universe right now are just a little bit left of center, or this is right, this is left of center. To what I initially thought. And it's not a bad thing, but then it can inform like how you think about what your next moves are. Like, who are you building for? Like, what are the offers I could be constructing? Um, because I used to be like very, very narrow, and people will always say like niche down, law. Uh, Fine, but I used to be like, I am speaking specifically to mid-career creatives, and I was just like, am I anymore? I'm not really sure that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I have a pretty strong take on this. I think niching works on some platforms.
Correct.
I do not think it's the right move on Substack. I think
Yeah.
Substack is a personal platform. People are on there to meet you, and then you have offers or you have a career, you do these other things, and that's a part of you, but it is not what your account is. You see these people coming with their LinkedIn accounts or their Instagram accounts and using those same models on Substack, and this really just doesn't work as well. People don't resonate with it and stuff like that.
Totally.
Um, they want to get to know you, and so also what I feel like is like, dude, your niche can change every day or like by the minute. Like, so with all these things, I literally change my niche like once a month as I was going through these different offers. It's like, oh, I was the bio guy. That was my niche. And I was like, oh no, I'm the personal brand guy, like help you find your direction and stuff. Oh no, I'm like the make friends guy. It's like just your niche is whatever you choose it to be. It's basically your offer and what you want to be known for. And you can literally change that tomorrow, which I think is cool because it gives you the freedom to not worry about getting it perfect right now. It's like you can test something, run with it, see how it goes, pivot, tweak it, double down on it, whatever, and then you keep going. And that's like
Well,
a
it's also the idea of like, and you can find this in any number of places online, but like specialist versus generalist. And I'm not like opening up that can of worms right now, but I will say it's like myself and anybody I know in the film world who is like hyper specialized, they are super hurting right now. Right. But if you are kind of like a Swiss Army knife and a little more of a generalist and you can do a lot of things reasonably well, you kind of become inherently a lot more valuable because you can like be nimble and pivot as needed. And it's like, from a very practical like film world example, production work like really started drying up and it's still not great. And I'm like, okay, cool. I was an editor for years. Like I can just try to find edit work and I've found some of it and it's fine, you
yeah.
know?
And that's one of the things I want to talk about with like the offers that I've been like the way I've been going about it is so I start with like a theory, a hypothesis, and I run it through that system I talked about, right? You validate the problem, see if people are talking about it, build something light if the validation's there, see how you like building it, if you feel good about it, and then you go out and you try to sell it or get a few free clients, whatever makes sense. And then you go from there. It's like, did people buy? Did I like fulfilling it? Do I want to keep talking about this? Like you take all that information in and then it basically tells you your next move. Like I built the personal brand build out because of what I learned from the magnetic substacker, which was the bio thing. And then
Yeah.
with the personal brand build out, I really did not like delivering it. And so that told me, okay, I need to shift away from this. I'm really drawn to the relationship part though. Okay, that now I'm gonna go in that direction. It's like you're taking you're making these small bets kind of like with very small steps, you're just validating some content, you're building something light, you're seeing if people pay for it. And through that process, you determine, like, do I want to keep doing this? Do I want to double down on it? Will people pay for it? Do they have the problem? And that just helps you make the next choice. And then it's just really easy to kind of like just keep moving forward. You're always learning, and you're either doubling down or you're pivoting, and it's all based on real world feedback.
Well, also not doing stuff in like a void where it's like you've just convinced yourself that, oh, this is the right idea. And I'm not going to like, you know, put it out in the world or like engage with anybody and like try to get feedback on it. I'm just going to like build this in a bubble and then put it out. And like you know, I've seen a bunch of stuff like this in the past where like mostly when people were building video courses, which are, in the traditional sense, like building like these huge video courses and spending like months building this out and all these modules and then it doesn't sell. It's like, well, yeah, because you just decided that this is the thing that you wanted to do and didn't take the time to figure out if anybody actually wanted it. Um, I've fully convinced myself that once I have some sort of something out in the world that people can buy, like the second I sell something for the first time, it's going to break my brain. And I'm just going to be like, what? This is a thing that I can do, you know?
Dude, offers are so weird like that. So I've probably built over a dozen over the last. I've been doing this stuff like 11 years. I started in the social skills niche, built some courses and ebooks, and eventually did coaching with that. Moved into helping people build on social media and do their own coaching stuff. And then I've come here and done all the stuff I'm doing on Substack. And so I've built several offers, and it can feel like a real grind, especially when you're using the old model of like build and then try to sell.
Yeah.
Um, but once you have an offer that like hits, it's like really weird how much easier things feel. Like
Mm.
it's like, oh, I didn't have to push people into this. It's like I just told them what it was and they wanted it. It's like, okay, wow. Like, and I think that's just like what is easy to miss is most people probably have an audience that will buy the right thing. I mean, obviously not your
Yeah.
whole audience, but like 5% of
But
your audience would buy this $5,000 consulting package or coaching package or this
sure.
$500 course or this ebook or whatever. It's like there is likely an offer that you would love to create and fulfill and help people with, that your audience would buy from you if you can just find that right thing. And so finding that thing though is the hard part. That's the whole game in itself. And that's really kind of why I've moved into this model of like just offer max, right? Just try it, see where it goes, see what it tells me, go to something else or pivot or double down, stuff like
It's
that.
so funny. You told me Offer Max the other day, and then a buddy of mine who I've had on my show, this dude Jason, he's like kind of got a big audience over on Instagram, and he's an art director. So his thing lately has been taste maxing. I'm like, wait a minute, I just what is the with the maxing? What's going on
Uh,
with that?
yeah. I mean, some people hate it, which is kind of funny. I guess
I mean, whatever. Yeah.
I said it and I triggered uh, someone in my audience because people also use it for like, I guess there's like looks maxing that they talk about and like chew maxing or whatever to like get the like strong jaw
Oh
muscles
God.
and
Okay.
yeah.
Well, like I did. I fine.
And so I
Yeah.
get it.
I can't speak. I got nothing.
Yeah, so I get it, but I find it, I don't know, I find it fun to just say maxing on things.
Too funny.
Um,
I do want to call. So two things. I need to bounce soon
yeah, same.
because I have other things to do, and I desperately need to use the bathroom. For anybody curious, and also I just want to call out specifically that Brandy, you can max anything.
Hell
Nice.
yeah, hell yeah.
Uh, there's 25 people here, but like these 25 people have been here basically the whole time for like an hour and 15 minutes, which is like good on you guys. Apparently, we're entertaining and, something.
No, they're just laughing at us. They're just like, "Look at
That's
these
fine too.
goofballs."
That's fine too. I'm okay with it.
Dude, Drew, I had a blast with this conversation.
Hey, man.
I knew it was gonna be fun after our last call. So thanks
Yeah.
so much for, taking the time out of your day. I know how busy you are. Um, dude, thank you everyone who showed up. This is like I just find it so cool that you guys wanna come hang out, and I
Totally.
love that you guys comment and, we can talk about that stuff in it.
It
So
was a
thank
super engaged chat. I'm
Yeah.
totally digging it.
Yeah, it's super fun. So, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Drew, and,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't really have much else other than that.
I love that the thing that I said about needing to use the bathroom is what is like getting the most traffic in this chat. Like that. Okay, that's
Dude,
where we're at
save it.
now.
That's my new content pillar.
Yeah.
Alright,
Hilarious.
dude. I'm gonna shut this down here in a sec, so, yeah, love you
Sounds
guys.
good. Yeah.
Pe
Thanks for being here, everybody.
peace out, everyone.
Later.
Later, Drew.